Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon Tony. You and your allergies spent some time in the steam room today. How'd that go?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Old naked guys. Creepy. Creepy.
Let's see. That steam room thing.
Well,
nobody in there is under 70.
That's what
in the
I
steam
was
room.
told, that the steam would help. You know, I'd be able to breathe. I wouldn't be coughing as much. I wouldn't feel as bad. So I went into the steam room.
Got more old germs?
It didn't help me as much as I hoped
clearly
it
it
would.
didn't. You sounded like Marlon Brando wannabe in The Godfather.
Most of the old naked creepy guys in the steam room, most of them were me. Most of them were me. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, 8th place for the Knicks, 0-3 for the Angels, and 2 days of paternity leave for one New York Net. But we begin today with the San Antonio Spurs riding a 19-game win streak into Oklahoma City to play the Thunder. The Spurs are on a back-to-back, and this will be their 5th game in 7 days. So the rumor du jour centers on whether self-anointed iconoclast Gregg Popvich will rest any number of his geezer starters and tell the win streak to kiss off.
Wow.
Wilbon,
wow.
What should Popvich do?
You're killing Gregg Popvich.
What did I say? Self-anointed iconoclast? I think that's fair.
Self-anointed is not fair. Gregg Popvich should do what he always does, coach his team. He should tune out all these morons and moronic opinion, coach his team. Because, see, here's the track record for his team. They have won 4 championships. They could have won and should have won a 5th last year. They're in position to challenge for another one, a 6th trip to the finals this year. And no matter who Gregg Popvich starts or doesn't start, they come to play. You know, last year the league fined him because he didn't put some people out there. Almost won that game in Miami. That was stupid.
Yeah, it should have been $500,000.
And I would have a lawyer and I would go after the league. I would have gone after the league.
You would have lost.
And so guys like you who root for, stupid, overinflated teams all the time, and you make fun of San Antonio, this guy puts his team out there.
I didn't make fun of San Antonio. Let me ask you a question. If you live near a 2-hour drive of Oklahoma City, and you get a ticket to watch the San Antonio Spurs.
You're going to see Oklahoma City. You're not going to see the Spurs.
Let's say you want to see the Spurs.
You see them.
And you get these people who are not the starters
of the
Spurs.
You don't like Patty Mills?
No, I don't like him as much as I like Tony Parker.
Then,
I don't like somebody else as much as I like Tim
Get a season pass
Duncan.
and go to San Antonio.
See, you're an acolyte of Popvich. It amazes me.
Because he wins.
Well, you always say that all he does is win. Like, who's coaching to lose in the playoffs exactly? Other than Popvich.
But they do lose.
But and he loses too. He lost last year. Ray Allen, boom.
Here's the scoreboard on you in the last 2 weeks.
What?
I mean, as these allergies have clearly gotten to your brain and have rotted it,
I think you should start the right
taken down
players.
Phil Jackson and Gregg Popvich in the last 2 weeks. Count up the number of NBA titles they're responsible for.
What amazes me about you and the amen chorus around you with Gregg Popvich is he treats your friends.
Who cares about that? I don't care about them.
TV.
That has nothing to do with winning the basketball games.
Well, if he
treat me badly.
If he doesn't
talks to me.
If he doesn't start all his players, he probably won't win, and that's okay with you because I know the greater goal is winning.
I don't care what he says to Craig Sager at 8:30 during the first break. I don't care. I want to see the Spurs play.
That's the kind of friend you are.
Hey, my boy Sager, Wildcat. Terrible jackets. We got changing fortunes at the playoff line in the NBA Eastern Conference, Tone. Your Knicks took over that 8th and final playoff spot last night by crushing the Nets at the Garden. They're now 12-3 in their last 15. Meanwhile, Atlanta, which was once 3rd in the East, dropped to 9th. It doesn't seem all that vexed by it. GM Danny Ferry said, quote, "Candidly, I don't pay the amount of attention to the standings you would expect," close quote. Tone, is this an acceptable approach for any NBA team to take?
Danny Ferry worked for Gregg Popvich at one point. Are you going to give him the slide for what he said that you would give to Pop?
What I say.
Okay, and Popvich is a great coach. I'm just going backwards for a second. Here's another quote from Danny Ferry. Quote, "Our goal is not to be the 8th seed," unquote. Congratulations.
You're not going to be.
Right, you're 9th at the moment.
There's got to be some context to this. There's got to be a little.
The Atlanta Hawks are a bad team, and they have been beset by injuries, which makes them a worse team. Right. They are probably not really playing for this year. My position would be clear that you ought to pay attention to the standings because you've been in the playoffs for a number of years. You've never advanced very far, but you ought to try and make the playoffs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that there's context to everything, and I know Danny Ferry and you do too for a long time.
Yes.
And so to sort of intimate, and we won't, that Danny Ferry is not a competitor would be wrong.
Oh, it's crazy.
Danny Ferry was talking about here, and this does relate to the Spurs, the bigger picture of we're trying to build something here where we're a lot higher than the 8th spot year after year after year after year.
Well, it's hard.
And that's the priority here. And you know what, Tony? It's easy to say, of course, it's just slip to 9th and then 10th.
Well,
that's where they're going.
The problem with Atlanta is this. They made the playoffs like 6 straight years. They never got to the conference finals. They never got beyond the second round. They're a mediocre team at the moment. You're trapped. You got to bring in a free agent. Free agents don't go to Atlanta. You got to make a big trade. There are no big trades in the NBA anymore. So you got to drop, and you got to get a great player. And they're just treading water to get a great player at the moment.
Tony, and though you look at some places like, say, the Suns, where they didn't acquire a great player. And you can do this when you think you have your system in place, and the Spurs had that, and Danny Ferry was part of it.
Give them a couple of years to figure it out.
Give them a couple of years to figure it out.
California Angels starting off this season in the same way they have finished recent seasons, badly. They're 0-3. They've been outscored, get this, 26-8. And it's not like they don't spend a lot of money on players. In Albert Pujols, Josh Hamilton, and Mike Trout alone, owner Artie Moreno has committed $500 million, 3 guys. Wilbon, if you are Artie Moreno, are you losing patience?
Oh, I'm sure he's already lost it. I mean, guys like this who made tons of money, and some of the ventures that they're involved in have paid off quickly, like overnight. Some have taken, a long, steady, consistent course, but that's not what they expect, and they are frustrated. And sometimes they take out that frustration by paying more people more money because they want results right now.
Would you not have given Albert Pujols that money? Of course you would. Would you not give Mike Trout that money?
I was on the side of the Cardinals. I said, don't give him the money. Mike Trout's a different story, I think. But, Tony, he's frustrated. But you know what? This is the difference between sports and their other businesses. We have some history in this town with Dan Snyder and the Washington Redskins.
A lot of money.
Sure, he's frustrated. People say he doesn't want to win. Yes, he does want to win. They throw money after more money, after bad money, trying to do this.
Spending money alone doesn't guarantee success. If it did, the Cubs and the Dodgers of the last 10 years would have been winners because they spent a lot of money. What spending money guarantees you is that the spotlight will shine brighter on you, win or lose. And now it's very bright because he spent a lot of money. I think he spent it correctly. But, the Angels, they're so far behind the Dodgers in just the last year and a half with the influx of money with the Dodgers. And it looks like the Dodgers are spending money and getting a winning team.
The Dodgers
they're
have
just
that new media deal, which is going to bring them billions.
Yeah.
The Angels will have something very similar, given the market there in Southern California. They're still drawing more than 3 million people a year. So nobody has to,
and it's only
pass
3
the
games.
cup for Artie Moreno. And it is 3
But don't
games.
you think of the Angels in the same way you think of the Atlanta Hawks, that they are relevant locally but not nationally because they haven't
won? Well, they're
won.
overshadowed, too, by this other thing that's out there, the Dodgers. This next story is something you never, ever see. Overreaction in New York. Daniel Murphy, the Mets second baseman, had the nerve to take 2 games, 3 days off upon the birth of his daughter and was taken to task by a couple of guys we know and like. Mike Francesa and Boomer Esiason, among others. Francesa says, quote, "Are you going to sit there and look at your wife in a hospital bed for 2 days?" Close quote. And Boomer, my dear friend of 30 years, said Murphy should have insisted his wife have a C-section before opening day. Tone, should these guys be ripping Murphy the way they are?
This is a collectively bargained thing between owners and players. That owners and players in baseball thought enough of a paternity leave to grant 3 full days to every baseball player who wanted to use it.
He didn't violate anything.
So he went. It was 2 games, the first 2 games of 162, not like missing 2 football games out of 16, which Boomer is more used to. No, you don't know. You don't say this no 1,000 times no.
Look, the funny thing is now, of course, in New York, first of all, they've got their backs up about this, apparently.
Right.
Francesa and Boomer, we're not backing off of anything. You can back off to this degree. Don't try to judge a sensitive and important situation by your own particular individual standards. If this has been collectively bargained in your workplace, and Francesa went as far as to make fun of CBS and their policy of a 10-day paternity leave, but then acts as if he didn't say what he said. Oh, I didn't criticize the player. Yeah, you did, because you said go back to work already. So you did say that.
I played 161 games.
100 is an Iron Man. The guy's, sort of a mini Cal Ripken, and you did rip him, so at least own up to that.
Here's the thing.
Seriously.
If this is the Super Bowl, if it is the national championship game in basketball, the one game, you might think differently. You might not want to say it.
2 baseball games in April? It doesn't meet the test.
Let it go.
Come on.
The coaches and players are all in Dallas for the Final Four, and John Calipari is quoted as saying There are a lot of haters and bullies out there. Some of it is agenda-driven, where guys want to hurt the program, and it's not right, unquote. Calipari is in the Final Four for the third time in 4 years. But there is no pressure in college basketball like the pressure at Kentucky.
None.
National championship coaches like Joe B. Hall and Tubby Smith have been run out. Wilbon, after this Final Four is over, should Calipari drop the microphone and leave?
No question. You know, I've been saying this for months.
Just walk.
When Calipari, one of the big items I agreed with Calipari on, and people ripped him for, was saying this is the most scrutinized team. He was talking about where they are. He didn't mean nationally, where you are.
Yeah.
Kentucky, we've been to Lexington many times in our lives. We know the fanaticism there. It's out of control. And if I'm John Calipari and I've got a couple of championships in my pocket, even if I don't, multiple trips to the Final Four, I got a basketball resume that is going to place me in demand elsewhere, probably in the NBA, I'm getting the hell out of there. I'm turning on these people, Tony, because what are you going to do? If you win, you're going to give them a third? They don't care. They'll rip you next year if you finish 10th in the AP top 25.
And I think he knows that. And I think he knows that. He does something. He's a great recruiter. Under the current system, he's the greatest recruiter in the country.
This isn't going to change.
He knows how to coach. He knows how to recruit. He knows what Kentucky is about, and he has been successful there. When you talk about going to the NBA, we can go back to the Atlanta Hawks as an example. They don't have one great player. If you go to the NBA and you're on the wrong team, if you don't have a great player, you will never succeed. You'll be out like he was in New Jersey. He'll fail again.
Pick the team.
And now Pete Carroll wanted to get back to the NFL.
He got back
to clean up his reputation, and it worked for him. The NBA is different.
It is.
You must have one of the 5 to 10 best players in the league.
And there are always 7 or 8 jobs open, and some of those jobs surprise us every year. If you're Cal, you don't take this in. You can go to television in the meantime as a bridge.
And take much less money?
He doesn't need those. He's going to make more money. Cal's not at the end of his money-making days.
Isn't it great that you're deciding what kind of money he's
I tell you what, I will bet you right now that Cal's gone at the end of this year.
He might be, but if he goes to the NBA, he better get someplace. You don't want to end up in the Rick Pitino situation in Boston.
By the way, Pitino, a guy who went to Kentucky, ask him if knowing it and living it are the same things. These people are irresponsibly maniacal, and he should bolt on them. That would make me laugh.
Of course it would. It would make Northwestern better. Let's take a break.
And Binghamton?
What? Binghamton. I love Binghamton. I can't play. What's the word for the gifts the Astros gave Derek Jeter?
That's got to do with Lexington. Plus, Paul George hits a deep 3, and Bruce Pearl, he's got that shirt off again.
His move.
He's got that shirt off.
It's his move.
He should leave. I want.
After this beatdown and what's the word, Wilbon's going to wish he took paternity leave today. Word up, reality. What's first?
All right, Big Papa.
Paul George from about 40 feet last night. His shot was blank.
It was horsey. He took it from 35 to 40 feet. Nobody takes that shot unless you're in a game of horse. He took it because the shot clock was wrongly going down to 0, and he made it. Look, they really needed that win.
He launches it at the last second.
27 points, 13 rebounds, and 7 assists. That's a great line. Had they lost that game, had they lost at home to Detroit, our new best friend Frank Vogel wouldn't be sleeping as soundly as he did sleep last night after Paul George's shot.
91-90, at that point you're going, oh my God, they can lose this game at home to a team that lost to the Sixers by 25. Paul George's shot, Tony, might have been season-changing. I mean, the one thing the Pacers are is pretty self-reflective, even as they go through this agonizing thing, this slide they're going through. And they can tell you in real time, look, we know we've got issues. We got to win this game. They needed to win that game. They've got tough games left at Miami, against OKC. They needed that. They're not going to finish lower than second, but still, for their psyche, it could be season-changing.
Next. United States versus Mexico last night. I know you watched. Okay, maybe. I don't know that. I don't know that. But the team got blanked last night against Mexico.
Well, they got robbed because the United States didn't get a goal on this particular play that would have won the game because I believe it was a Panamanian referee said the United States player was over the line and offside.
He wasn't offside. He wasn't offside.
So they got robbed. They still walk away from playing Mexico. The last 5 times they played Mexico, their chief rival in this hemisphere anyway, they have not lost the game. I'm not going to get carried away here because these are exhibition games. In the year of the World Cup, I don't really care about this stuff, and I'd like to watch a World Cup game, but they got robbed on that particular play.
Robbed to me, I know you put out the Panamanian referee. They're in Arizona. I mean, I know the crowd was, probably only 1/3 rooting for the
they're rooting for Mexico.
US, but Arizona. Last I checked, still a state.
Yeah, but I
got a house there.
I read that they were rooting for Mexico.
They were lax. The lead was 2-0. You've got a 2-0 lead playing at home. Don't get lax and give up the 2 goals. You shouldn't need the 3rd goal when you're up 2-0.
And you know what?
Lax.
They didn't get it. Next.
Analysis. Next, the gifts. The Houston Astros gave Derek Jeter a blank.
They are flea marketing. They are garbage. They are junk. They gave him a pair of pinstripe boots for a guy who lives in Manhattan.
They're in Texas.
They gave him a cowboy hat
about?
for a guy who lives in Manhattan.
There's your boy Clemens.
They gave him some golf clubs that I'm sure he already has 10 sets.
No, he doesn't.
Derek Jeter is going to re-gift this. In 2 weeks, you're going to see a Victoria's Secret model walking down Fifth Avenue in pinstripe boots and a cowboy hat.
How great would that
and
be?
if Derek Jeter is going to get garbage like this everywhere he goes this year, he ought to retire in May.
You couldn't be more wrong because you clearly have no idea what Derek Jeter does or doesn't do, and they researched it. The gifts were well-researched. Those cowboy boots. The golf clubs. Jeter goes to events like Michael Jordan's tournament. He hangs around. He's charming. He's a nice guy. He doesn't play golf yet, but he says he's going to play when he retires. Hello, retirement's coming.
Does he have enough money to pay for clubs?
The golf clubs are brilliant. Yeah, give him some clubs. Get him started with a starter set.
What was your word?
Well-researched. Thanks for listening and playing the game.
Awful. Next.
Real quick, either of you ever wear cowboy boots before?
Yes.
I have in my life.
In my life.
Not in the mean streets of Manhattan.
Maybe 6'6", though.
That surprises me. Last one.
It's pinstripe.
It's my urban cowboy mentality.
Took his shirt off again.
Yeah, it's predictable. Bruce Pearl is essentially the Matthew McConaughey of sports at this point. He takes his shirt off all the time. You don't have to ask him twice. You don't even have to ask him. He'll take his shirt off. It's like he's auditioning for Baywatch. This was apparently a fraternity thing. It's in a dunk tank or something like that. I don't know. There are stories at ESPN that he took his shirt off in the hallway and scared Mike Greenberg. That's what he does.
I'm not touching that.
Really?
It's effective. We just aired it. This is what he's trying to do, drum up interest at Auburn, where there's no interest in basketball, very little since Charles Barkley left, okay?
You think that
this is
taking off his
effective.
shirt?
People are paying attention to Auburn basketball at a time in the year. They're not in this tournament. They're not in any tournament. And yet, they're talking about Bruce Pearl, who, by the way, is probably one of only 3 coaches in America, don't ask me to name the other 2, who would take their shirts off at a fraternity party.
You can't name any of them.
I probably can't. Effective.
That's it. Today in the steam room, I was torn naked. Time for a break, but on the way, a report that the Lakers may bring back Mike D'Antoni. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Plus, Jared Allen's birthday, Larry Brown's big night. I bet you know something about that.
Well, he's trying to win the NIT championship.
Well, good. He's in the tournament.
I wish it to him.
Bruce Pearl's taking his shirt off. Larry Brown's winning games.
As long as Bruce Pearl doesn't. Happy time, people. Happy 32nd birthday, Jared Allen. After threatening to retire if he didn't get the free agent deal he wanted, Jared Allen left the Minnesota Vikings for division rival Chicago.
Yeah.
Allen is one of the sack masters in the league. He fully expects Viking fans to boo him when the Bears play the Vikings. Wilbon better than Julius Peppers?
No, I don't say better. He's had a better career slightly. They both have terrific careers. Do you realize that both Doris Day and Marlon Brando, born today, both would have been, well, Doris Day still 90 years old. How about that?
Wow, didn't know. Happy anniversary, Ramil Robinson. On this day 25 years ago, Robinson hit 2 free throws with 3 seconds left to win the NCAA championship for Michigan. Those free throws beat Seton Hall and P.J. Carlissimo, and they were ridiculous. Robinson wasn't even going towards the basket when the foul was called. Bad karma for the Big Ten because since then, the conference has only one national championship, Michigan State in 2000.
Do I hear a second one? Wisconsin this year? Maybe?
Maybe, but I don't think so. Happy trails to any privacy in the Celtics huddle. In the midst of being blown out by the Wizards last night, the Celtics somehow found Marcin Gortat in their huddle and appeared to welcome him. Gortat is chatty, but you wouldn't think the Celtics would be so friendly towards him. By winning that game, the Wizards made the playoffs for the first time in 6 years.
The Celtics don't even know who's in their huddle anymore. By the way, Red Auerbach, Celtic boss, who used to sit at those games, a lot of games, with those Wizards Bullets, Celtics games. How do you think Red would have felt about that?
He would have not liked it very much. He would have taken his cigar and thrown it at people.
That's right.
Time to find out where we messed up, Reality.
The Angels have not been the California Angels in 18 years, Tony. The Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, California, United States, planet Earth, Milky Way.
California.
Yeah, well, when Doris Day was popular,
yeah, well, that was
they were the California Angels.
Wilbon wants to skew you
You're a
guys
Dodger
going with
fan.
some Doris Day references.
Doris
Final
Day.
Four is in North Texas, by the way. That's what they're trying to tell you, not Dallas, Wilbon.
Please.
And we have another Happy Trails. This is from Outside Sports.
Uh-oh.
While taping The Late Show tonight, David Letterman said he'll retire next year.
Wow. David Letterman is brilliant.
Letterman.
We were on the David Letterman show.
That might not have been his most brilliant moment.
Right, but he is absolutely
that's
brilliant.
huge. Man.
Great. We're running out of show. We go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Bleacher Report says the Lakers are leaning towards bringing back Mike D'Antoni next year. You are surprised, right?
Yeah, and I'm not sure we can. I mean, it's early. I mean, the season's not even over yet. How do we know? Carolina's James Michael McAdoo going to the NBA. Does it really matter?
Is he Bob McAdoo?
Not Bob.
He's a
not
fringe
Bob.
player. I mean,
He can make it, though. He can make a squad. He's got some skill.
Come on, high first-round pick? No. Dick Pavetta officiated his 2,633rd consecutive regular season NBA game last night, passing Cal Ripken's Ironman streak.
Wow.
Big deal.
You can't compare this to Cal Ripken. It is
a lot,
a big
though.
deal, though, Pavetta. You can get strains and
That is a
injuries
lot.
and boo-boos as an NBA official.
That is a lot.
Love Pavetta. Congratulations. David Ortiz had the best-selling jersey in baseball this offseason. Makes sense?
Absolutely. After the World Series he had, after what he said after the Boston Marathon bombing,
Yeah.
very popular figure. Last one, Larry Brown and SMU versus Richard Pitino in Minnesota in the NIT championship tonight. We got.
Hard for me to go against the conference. Big Ten. But in Larry's case,
Thank you.
I think I make an exception.
We are out of time. We will try and do better the next time. I am Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. Check out the PTI podcast on iTunes.
Terry Russell, shout out. Getting it done.
Postage meter companies used to be the only way to print postage, and they took advantage of that, charging whatever ridiculous fees they wanted. But those days are over, thanks to Stamps.com. With Stamps.com, you get more features than a postage meter at a fraction of the cost. All you need is your computer and printer to print official U.S. postage for any letter, any package, any class of mail. With Stamps.com, everything you can do at the post office, you can do right from your desk. It's so convenient. And right now, Stamps.com has a special offer when you use promo code PTI. Get a no-risk trial, plus a $110 bonus offer that includes a digital scale and up to $55 free postage. Don't wait. Go to Stamps.com today, and before you do anything else, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in PTI. That's Stamps.com, promo code PTI.
What makes the Indy 500 the greatest spectacle in racing?
Back home again.
We are free. Everyone in the grandstands are on their feet.
You're now the winner of the Indianapolis 500, my friend.
The Indianapolis 500, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on ABC.